Well, thank you for getting ready for an hour just to talk to me for 15 minutes.
An hour, please. I started at like 3 o'clock this afternoon.
I'm sorry.
It took a minute to beat this ugly mug.
Hi everyone, Novice Guard Dieter Schnitzel here with the City of Fountain Sisters. I am here tonight to talk about journaling. But first, and I have a very special guest I'll introduce in just a moment, but first I'm just going to talk about marathon training real quick. It's going good. I'll be going to run 12 miles this weekend, so we'll see what happens. I'm still going with my track of running 2, walking 1. So that's kind of my plan going forward as we're getting into some longer runs now. So it's getting down to the nitty gritty. I have about 8-9 weeks to go till October 17th, I think, by the time this comes out. So I'll be out on the trail. But if you have any other questions, you can let me know about that. Otherwise, I have a very, very, very special guest tonight to talk about journaling, and we're going to talk about gratitude journaling a little bit. But she is my dear friend. She is my beloved big sister. So I just want to welcome to this my dear friend and sister Ultra Brocade.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. Here we are. So my little brother has asked me to talk about journaling. What I do is I actually have a handful of different journals. Let me show you. 4 of them currently. And each one kind of is different. Like this one has really dark thoughts that I just need to get out of my head. Let's see. This one has more poetry, as well as some of my more sister ideas and little half-written blessings and things like that. As I was saying, this one's the menu journal. I am a chef by profession, and so sometimes I just have random menus that I have in my head, so I write them down. Because for me, what I do is journaling is very helpful in the fact that I have a lot of stuff in my head, and I need a way to get it out. So I write it down, and then it's out of my head. And I write things that I'm grateful for, and things that I really don't like, and bits of poetry or little essays, you might say. But it really is just a way of clearing out my mind for me, and that's really helpful.
So when did you start journaling?
I've kind of always kept journals. These are the current journals. I think I probably have another 5 or 6 that are in storage at this point in time. It's just something, we did it in high school. Trying to remember my teacher's name, but she had us do a little journaling every week, and so it just kind of became a habit. And doing what I do professionally, there's always a lot of thoughts, and so it's just really helpful to just write them down. So it's also kind of helps me organize myself. It's kind of the making of lists. And and being a creative person that I am, I also like to write. I was a weird kid, and I read a lot of poetry and Shakespeare and a lot of heavier.
There's nothing weird about reading poetry and Shakespeare when you're a kid. I did it.
Made me who I am. But,
exactly.
It's just writing has always been a good thing for me. I've always written letters to folks, and the written word has power.
I remember your project to Elevate. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because it's all about writing and penmanship, because that's your wheelhouse. I love it.
So when the whole pandemic began, we had discussed as a house in ways in which we could still have presence and reach out to our community. And one of our community's great charities that we have is the Hope Care Center. It's an AIDS hospice here in Kansas City. It has 16 beds, 14 of which are currently being used. And so they're just already a little limited and cut off. And so the idea came to us to write letters and reach out to various places such as nursing homes, hospices, things like that. And I was just like, oh, let's write the Hope Care Center song. So I wrote letters to each of the residents for 7-8 weeks straight every week, and just to let them know that they were thought of and that they were cared for. And it was just very cathartic. Writing in itself is a very Zen-like thing. It's a great way to clear your mind, keep your hands busy. And it's just one of the things that gives me joy.
It is very cathartic. You're absolutely right. And I think I personally loved your project with the Hope Care Center. It's still ongoing, I'm pretty sure, correct? Like
it is. It's not on a weekly basis. I've been kind of sending a monthly sort of check-in on you sort of
right.
thing. It's perfect.
But I'm sure, I know that meant the world to them when there wasn't a lot of hope going on. And I mean, there's still there's a little more, but so I know they really, really deeply appreciate you doing that for them monthly. And the event where we delivered that day, and then we were in the backyard.
Since we couldn't have Pride, we made Pride.
We made Pride.
And we had a good time, and unknown to me that day, I was elevated to fully professed, along with my sister Amethyst Rose, and our dear littlest sister, who is now our sister Queen Chiabata, and she's our young little bright spot of hope and joy in this world. And it's an amazing little person, and so we're fortunate. And she even went so far that day as she had written little cards and notes to the residents themselves as well.
So that's one way to get your thoughts down on paper and everything. I think the clearest example of writing to bring peace to me and to bring me joy. When the pandemic started, one of the things I did to kind of clear my mind was to start a gratitude journal. So one of the first entries, I'd say the first couple weeks, I noticed that my brother lives here in town. He would post pictures of his cat all the time. So I post pictures, post videos, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, you have it. Like my brother, it was Orange Peel, his cat, OP. We call him OP for short. So before the pandemic started, I was just kind of like, there's so many darn pictures of this cat. Like it's borderline like wow. As I started to watch it, and as the world was kind of shut down, people reacted to the cat. People needed that cat. People needed to see that cat on social media, because there wasn't a lot else going on than bad news, right? So I just kind of reached out to him one day and talked to him. I mean, we talk all the time. We're family, but and towards the end of it, we were kind of talking, and I thanked him for sharing everything. And he's like, who doesn't want to see a cute orange cat right now? And so, if anything, it kind of encouraged him to keep going with it. So, and then there was another instance where, with my gratitude journaling, we were at a Black Lives Matter rally, and Sister Amethyst Rose, who you mentioned earlier, she kind of pulled me out of the way of a cop car that was not acting right, that I was almost hit by. So definitely made sure that was in the journal, and that I thanked her profusely for it, because good thing she was vigilant, because I wasn't when we were walking. So anyway, but I'm totally on the train of writing down your thoughts and getting everything together. You and I have talked at length about this before. I've shared things with you, in my dark journal. So
well, sometimes you have to get the dark thoughts out.
Well, but yeah, I can't thank you enough, because you've kind of shown me the importance of getting your thoughts on paper, whether they're positive or negative or what have you. Sometimes it's just it like you said, it's cathartic to just get it all out and move on. That way,
it is very helpful with that.
Yep, it's not floating in your head anymore. So,
and it helps focus on happier things.
Absolutely.
focus on the happy things as well.
Yeah. What would you say? So let's say someone's watching this and they're like, "Oh, maybe I should start a journal." Like, what advice would you have for them, if any?
I guess what I would say is find a journal that you like, that feels good in your hand. As I like journals with nicer paper, just because it's a hand feel, because of the writing. And a good pen, a pen that's comfortable in your hand, that you feel that you can move along very easily and hold, and that way you can just write. I also like to kind of have a more of a clear space, so that I can focus. Not too many distractions, and a beverage. Beverage is always good to have.
Beverage is always important.
And then just let yourself go there.
Yeah.
Just the whole point is that you are getting it out of your head. Plus, when it's on paper, you can actually look, and it helps you get a better sense of what you're doing or what you're feeling. And then it shows you where you really can focus on what is really bothering you.
Absolutely.
Or, and vice versa, it's also a great tool to remind yourself of the things that you find joyful and that a beautiful moment, a great memory, a happy butterfly floating by when you're out for a walk. Just, things that bring you happiness.
For sure. Well, is there anything else you want to share about journaling or anything like that? Because I think all my buttons are hit.
I think that's really it, unless there's any other questions you might have for me.
I don't, but this is kind of where I open it up to everyone watching. If you do have any questions, please comment below. Send the house a message, send me a message, send anybody a message if you have any questions or concerns about what it is to journal. So, sister, I can't thank you enough for joining me tonight. I how I feel about you.
You're my little brother.
I love you, big sister.
I love you, little brother.
All right. Well, guys, thank you. Love you too. Love you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And then, stay tuned. I took a little break last week, but we're kind of back in the steam of things now. So the video sequence is out of order, but to get it back on path, I'll be having another video probably come out next week, the one after this one releases. So stay tuned. And thank you guys enough. I can't thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in, and thank you so much. Have a great evening.